What's up, Ian here, and this is my full review for the TRN MT3. Now, did I mention that this is just 15 US dollars? Yep, it is 15 US dollars, and I dare say that this is the cheapest balanced tuned IEM that you can find in the market for now, at the time of making this video. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you guys my full review, but if you guys are more interested in watching the unboxing, first impressions, and graph measurements of this TRN MT3, please check out the link up above. In this video, I'm just going to talk about the sound performance of these. Now, so yeah, this is actually very suitable for beginners, or even for those who is not in this hobby, this IEM hobby, and thinking about whether to get into this hobby. And if you are thinking about it, this is the IEM that you should get. 15 US dollars, no harm done. You know, if you don't like this hobby, you can just put this one side and you don't waste too much money on this hobby. Okay, so 15 US dollars, you get a tuning that is well balanced, okay, and it's actually close to the Harman target in terms of the tuning. Okay, so let's talk about the accessories first, the fit and comfort, before I go into the sound performance. This cable, I don't like this cable. I am not a fan of this cable. It tangles up, it looks cheap, it feels cheap, and the ear hooks are too stiff. Well, I mean, it's pretty okay, but it's still a bit too stiff for me, and yeah, not a fan of this cable. Ear tips, not a fan of the ear tips as well. The ear tips, right, it's a bit too stiff for me as well, okay, and I'm using the white one. The white one is a bit too soft, and then sometimes I lose my seal, all right, on this ear tips. So not a fan of the ear tips, not a fan of the cable, but the shell is well built, right? Shell is made of metal, durable, feels premium. Well, I mean, feels that it's got quality to it, but it's a good shell, it's a good build in terms of the shell. But other than that, I'm not a fan of this. But if you look at the box and the packaging, it's 15 US dollars, right? It's a budget IEM, and obviously they want to save money by giving you better ear tips and better shell. So I understand where they're coming from. But for 15 US dollars, that tuning, okay. So let's talk about the technicalities first before we talk about the sound tuning and all that. So technicalities, right, in terms of sound quality, right? The sound quality on this is okay. It's not very good. In fact, I'll give it probably 2.7 out of 5 stars, okay, in terms of sound quality. The sound stage is wide only to the sides and not much layering. In fact, it sounds a bit like flat, okay, one plain type of sound stage. It's got depth as in the distance, but you can't hear much layerings in terms of the instruments, whereby you can separate the vocals, the instruments, and then the drums, the percussions, and the background singers and all that, you know what I mean? But yeah, so in terms of the sound separation and the sound stage, is basically a one plain flat type of sound stage that I get from this earphones. Now, as I mentioned, the sound separation and the layering. Sound separation, I mean, I can hear the sound separation left and right. Instruments, I can actually, tell that instruments is on this side, the pianos is on this side, but that's just about it. When it comes to a more busier track, then, everything sounds like in one pot kind of thing. Presentation to me. Now, for detail retrieval and resolution, this does not give me the most details, okay. I mean, I can retrieve some, maybe, okay, I'll give this a score, maybe a 2.8 out of 5 stars for detail retrieval for these. I find that the details are a bit lacking, and sometimes I can hardly tell, the background sound. I need to listen really hard. Okay, the resolution as well. I mean, this is also the budget resolution is, I would say, it's not the most resolving IEM per se. I mean, for $15, I'm not expecting much. But from price to performance ratio, I do really appreciate that, they actually have this kind of package at $15. It's actually a high resolution delivery of sound to your ears, or higher resolution than the commercial products that you can find out there for 15 US dollars. So in terms of detail retrieval and resolution, I find that it's okay. It's $15 and I'm not expecting too much. Okay, so for that's for the technicalities. I find that it's just an okay performer in terms of the technicalities. Now let's talk about the tone and timbre of this. The tone and timbre of this actually is pretty good. They've got a pretty natural to warmish type of tone on this. The note weight is not too heavy and not too light, so it's pretty balanced. So for tone and timbre, I kind of like the tone and timbre on this. It's pretty normal, natural, a bit warmish type of tone and timbre. Of course, you know, that warm gives it that casual listening type of listening experience. Now for sub bass, it's not too heavy as well. It's not too in your face. It's got good presentation, good level of sub bass, and good extension as well. Sounds pretty natural lah. So sub bass quality, I find it's pretty good, right? For mid bass, it's got okay impact. Is quite impactful when the track requires it. It's not the most impactful. At the same time, it's not the most thumpy and the most light type of impact. I find it quite balanced lah. Okay, actually it is a good thing, because some of my tracks lah, not most, some of my tracks actually I don't need the impact. I need to hear more of the mids more than the mid bass. So I think for the mid bass, it's quite polite in my books. Now for the mids actually they are recessed. Yes, they are recessed. They are not really veiled in a way. I mean, it's quite smooth lah, transiting from the mid bass to the mids. But you know, the mid bass does impede a little bit. You know, does have a bit of bleed, but it's not by a lot. Okay, the mids still have that space there and does shine a bit. Not very clear, alright, but it's got nice, warm, and natural type of tone to its presentation. And like pianos and the violins, right? They do sound forward, alright, a bit veiled by the mid bass and the subs. But other than that, they sound reasonably balanced to me. Okay, now for vocals, I find vocals they are also pretty balanced as well. They're not like male vocals, right? Male vocals are not like in your face and very authoritative. They take charge of the entire track itself. Not really, no. I mean, they do sound warm. They've got that natural note weight to them, a bit warmish note weight as well, and they sound present. You know, they sound present in the mix. Now for female vocals, they actually sound bright. I mean, they've got that good brightness, good amount of brightness there, good amount of bite, good amount of energy. Okay, it's not the brightest, it's not the most energetic female vocals, but they got that good presence there. Okay, they sound pretty natural, and they don't really sound that laid back. I find that they are pretty present in the mix, and it's easy to listen to them as well. They're not shouty, they're not like sibilant, and they don't really get on my nerves with the sharp notes. Okay, so female vocals sound pretty okay on them. Now let's talk about treble. Treble is not too bright, not too dark, got a good bite to the cymbal strikes and hi-hats, and yeah, it's got good extension as well. So good air in terms of the cymbal strikes. To a point, sometimes cymbal strikes sounds a bit unnaturally long. Okay, so maybe a bit too airy for them. You know, it's not something bad, right? But to me, maybe they linger a little bit too long for me. But yeah, but for treble, they're not sibilant. They're not very harsh treble to me. Sometimes it may be a bit shouty, yeah, but for most tracks, it's quite bearable. Yeah, it's not fatiguing at all, right? Not a fatiguing treble. I find it enjoyable to listen to, and yeah, very comfortable to listen to the treble on this. Okay, so that's my overall review and impression of this TRN MT3. As I mentioned, right, the tuning on this actually pretty good, right? A balanced tuning. And do I recommend this? I definitely recommend this, especially to those who do not own an IEM. Okay, I repeat, who do not own an IEM, and you want to start out this hobby, this is actually a very good IEM to start off with. Now for those of you who already own IEMs like Olinas or the T3 Plus or the Rhombus or the EDA, KZs, please, this one is not going to be the IM that you want to get, right? It's going to be a side grade. So for those of you who are already in the hobby, please save up your money and get something that you really want, okay, and has got that tuning that you really want. This is more suitable for beginners who want to get their feet wet and try out the hobby. So for the genres that is suitable for this, actually, you know what, this is actually pretty suitable for most genres. It's a casual listening type of IEM. Is not going to be very analytical or clinical sound delivery, so you can listen to anything on this, to be honest. Right, so that concludes my overall impression and review of this TRN MT3. And if you guys enjoyed watching this video or learned something from this video, do consider to give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Right, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next review. Cheers.